Welcome, everyone. I'm so glad you're here, especially as we discuss The Future is Peace with the authors and really dive into what this moment is for all of us and to be really intentional about the way we are proceeding as a community and as a society. My name is Aziza Hasan. I'm the CEO of NewGround. In NewGround, we believe that the hard conversations are an important way of how we bridge across divides, how we understand more deeply and how we can figure out how to move forward together. And so I am deeply honored that you are taking time to be with us because this moment demands more of us, which is why NewGround has created this series, this learning series, because it's not just enough to recognize the humanity in each other. We actually have to see it, and we have to see what's at stake for each of us and to really start naming for ourselves and for one another, and to be real about the hardships, that it's not something that's simple, but it's something that requires so much more of us. And that's what we'll be diving into today. And so I'm very pleased that our friends Aziz Abu Sada and Maoz Inon are with us to discuss The Future is Peace. If you don't have your book yet, I don't think you can see it. If you don't have your book yet, please go out and make sure that you get it. This is when I went to do my own personal journey to see where my family was from. I'm Palestinian. My dad is from this little tiny village called Litbab. You won't even see it on the map. If you look on Google Maps, because it's been fully erased, like many hundreds of other Palestinian villages. And uh, when I went to go on my own journey, I just realized that uh, telling the story is a responsibility. Telling our stories, owning them for ourselves, and the hole that I felt in my heart when I had tour guide after tour guide just literally just skip over such essential details around the Nakba, around all these places. Like it's a lot of hard work, and each of us needs to be able to hear them, needs to be able to speak them, and they do it in such an incredible way. And The Future is Peace. You go on a journey that is a holy journey of grief, of sorrow, of pain, of beauty, and rediscovering and seeing things through the grief. And somehow the grief unlocks such tremendous um, possibility. And it's the kind of read that allows you to see what so many have not just silenced but erased. And it's also part of the story that we need to reckon with. And so I'm so grateful for their efforts, for the kind of work that they've been doing for decades. And just to give you an idea, what we're about to do is we'll have just like we've done in the past with this learning series, we'll have a conversation with our authors. You'll feel free, please, to add your questions into the chat. I'll try to weave what I'm able to into our conversation. And then you will be invited to join us in breakout rooms. The authors will sign off. And we'll have breakout rooms that are facilitated so that we can continue to process these details together. Because it's time to stop skipping over the important details. We need to discuss them directly. And so, with that, first start off with Aziz. Aziz Abu Sada is a Palestinian peace builder, an entrepreneur, a National Geographic explorer, a TED Fellow, and a renowned speaker and conflict resolution and responsible on conflict resolution and responsible travel. He is the co-executive director of Interact International, a nonprofit dedicated to Middle East peace. He's a co-founder of Mejdi Tours, a travel company on a mission to transform tourism into a global force of citizen diplomacy. He has won numerous awards, including the United Nations Institute of International Education, the Explorers Club, and Aziz is consistently named one of the world's 500 most influential Muslims by the Royal Islamic Strategic Studies Center in Jordan. And he has written opinion pieces for the New York Times, the Washington Post, Al-Quds, and Haaretz. He has spoken.
Aziz, I must say, maybe you should start with, as of last week, New York Times best-selling author.
Oh, yes,
Only Aziz.
absolutely. A
Only
big
Aziz.
congratulations to both of you for hitting
Yes.
that list, which is remarkable. Um, and hopefully will propel your work even further. Thank you for that correction. He has spoken before the US Congress, the European Parliament, and international forums around the world. And now for Maoz. So Maoz is an Israeli peace activist and an entrepreneur, and he has multi-award-winning founder of numerous peace-focused tourism initiatives in Israel and the Middle East, including the Jesus Trail, the Fauzi Azhad Inn.
Azar
The
in.
Say it again.
فوزي عزار.
Thank you. Fauzi Azad in the Abraham Hostel and Tours, and he's the co-executive director of Interact International, a nonprofit dedicated to Middle East peace. Maoz has been honored with the prestigious Franco-German Human Rights Prize and the Champions of Shared Society from the Abraham Initiatives. He has spoken on Capitol Hill, in European Parliament, and at the universities around the world. And Maoz is frequently interviewed on international broadcast media and has written pieces in the Washington Post, Al Jazeera, the Independent UK, Vatican News, and Haaretz. He's been on the Daily Show with Aziz Maoz. Aziz and Maoz have both been on the Daily Show. You can see the New York Times bestseller list and so many other media. And so we're so grateful that you're willing to share your story with us. Um, and I'm personally especially grateful because you're not shying away from the hard things. You're really intentional about the words that you use and why you use them. And we would love to hear more about your journey, and what you're willing to share without giving up all the details in your book. And I'm happy to start, and we would love to start with you, Maos.
Okay, so first, Aziza, it's great. It's like the second time in a week that we are together. First time was face to face, and now here, and also see many friends that joined this great workshop. So hi everyone, and thanks for inviting us. So I will start with a short introduction, and then we really would love it to be an open discussion. So I already wrote a few things that I would definitely want to discuss with you. But again, open the floor for you. So again, hi everyone. My name is Maoz Inon. I was born and raised in Israel, where I also live at the moment, even though with Aziz, we are very busy touring with our book now throughout the US. My parents were among the first victims of the Hamas attack. Um, I won't go into many details. It's the first chapter of The Future is Peace, so I'll leave that for you to read. But soon after losing our parents, only 2 days after, my young brother asked, we are five siblings, he asked us to make a family decision and to go out to the world with a message, a united message that we want to reject revenge, that we don't want to avenge the deaths of our parents. And he explained, it was only 2 days after October 7th, he explained to us that avenging their death is not going to bring them back to life. Avenging their death will only escalate the cycle of violence, of bloodshed, of fear, of hate that we both, Palestinian and Israelis, been trapped within for a century. And it should be our parents' legacy that we will break this cycle. And we must pave an alternative path. First for us as a family, but also for everyone living between the Jordan River to the Mediterranean Sea. And 2 days after, Aziz reached out to me on Facebook and sent a message that he's offering his condolences and that he's standing with me and with my family in this tragic moment. And it was literally, and again, it was literally a hand reaching out to me, saving me from drowning into an ocean of sorrow and pain. And in the last 2.5 years, we've been working together, co-founding Interact, co-authoring The Future is Peace. And now, when it's the second time today, and I think, I don't know how many in the last 9 days, that I've the privilege and honor to say it, that yes, I lost my parents, I lost many of my childhood friends, I lost people I knew my entire life on October 7th, but I won Aziz. I won Aziz as a brother, and our brotherhood is the model of how our future, our joint future should look like. And if we can break those walls of fear, of hate, after we both, of Aziz lost his brother Taisir, he will share in a moment. If we can overcome and channel our pain, channel our hate, our divided societies and background and history into a shared future, everyone can. Everyone can. And our book is The Future is Pieces is an invitation for anyone reading the book to join us in our shared effort to bring justice and peace, not only to Israel and Palestine in the Middle East, but for the entire world.
Yeah. Yeah, we were pronounced brothers by Pope Francis, the late Pope Francis. So we stuck together forever from now on, because in Catholicism there's no divorce, as you all know. Now the Future's Peace is a journey of 8 days in which we discover discover each other narrative, stories, life. We talk about the 100 years of conflict. We talk about uh, the biblical stories, the mythical stories in the land. We talk about the current reality. We don't ignore anything that is happening, and then we talk about the future as well. And in this journey, we visit Maoz's house, we visit my house, and in it, I talk about obviously losing my brother Taysir when I was 10 years old due to torture in Israeli prison. We talk about how we made those choices of becoming peacemakers. So Maoz mentioned how he quickly, soon after his parents being were killed, he he quickly made that decision to go towards peace and say no to revenge. For me, it took 8 years for that to happen. And so in the Futures piece, I share about the emotions, how that works, and the with my Israeli teacher when I went to study Hebrew, the first Israeli who treated me as a human being, and how important it is for all of us to remember that each one of us actions when we meet somebody really can change the path they are walking on. And meeting with my Israeli teacher has put me in this path of peacemaking, realizing um, that we not shouldn't be divided by Israeli versus Palestinian, but rather by those of us who believe in justice, equality, and peace, and those who don't yet. And so the journey is kind of, how do we build a coalition? How do we tell a story? What kind of narrative we coming with for the future that will be different than the reality we live in today? And it's written not as a book of analysis, not as a book of here is the 10 points of the things you need to do, but rather as a novel almost. It reads as a story in both of our voices. Each of us, it's kind of a conversation which we tell each other the stories. And at the end of every chapter, almost every chapter except chapter one, we have a joint voice. We talk about what we learned from that day together. And so I think it's an easy read. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but I think it's an easy read because we wanted it to be a story and not just things that, oh my goodness, I have to go through analysis and points and all of this.
Yeah, it's a heartfelt read. I feel like there's we've got the physical copy, but listening to your brother's voice, Maoz, and then your voice, Aziz, like it's like you literally take us through grief with you, and you recount such vulnerable after your that like after such tremendous loss, and somehow that unlocks your ability to see it for the first time, to truly see it. And for you too, Aziz, like the journey too of wanting justice and and having to work through and reckoning with that journey. And I'm wondering, like, your journeys through grief are really uh like the holiness of them isn't lost on me, like the how important the tears are. And you we as I was reading it, like the tears were flowing and the anger was showing up and then the compassion was had space. But it struck me that so much of what people in the diaspora are experiencing is just the fear and the anger and the rage. And it's hard to even move through the stages of grief. And so much of your book embodies what it means to like lean into your tradition, but also lean into your tears. And I'm wondering, like there's a hardness that's setting into people in the diaspora because we're not working through those tears. And I'm wondering, what's coming up for you?
Um, yeah, grief is something that will always stay with us. It's not something that disappear or one day we're not going to miss our loved one. Um, but and what we are offering is that even though we paid so much and we are living within this grief, we should also be able to move forward, and with that we can move forward. And this is exactly what we manifest in the future is peace, that we can channel this grief to create a partnership that will למנוע, bring the same loss, pain, and grief that we are basically, I was literally drowning within. So we are not erasing this grief. We are not saying, no, you should just be happy. It's nothing happened, or that's life. No, it's not life. This is not life. This is not normal. This is not right. This is not, we cannot justify this loss, but we cannot fix and bring justice to those we lost, but we can create a just future. So by focusing into the future and building a shared future and building equal future, we are able, I want to believe that we are able to justify the sacrifice we made. And the only way for me to justify losing my parents is that the price they paid will be the price that will bring us peace.
I think he said everything I wanted to say. That's good.
Yeah, yeah, inshallah. I mean, thinking about your like so in one of the chapters, Aziz, you talk about a doctor that you meet from Gaza, and you talk about way more details about what he experiences. And I'm wondering if you'd be willing to share more of those details now.
Yeah, I met with Dr. Thaer Ahmed. Dr. Thaer Ahmed is he's worked not only in Gaza, he's worked in many disaster zones and war zones around the world in, his time as a doctor. He's Palestinian from Jerusalem suburbs originally, but he grew up, his family moved to Chicago, and he grew up in the United States. And he's been to Gaza even before. And when he went around, I believe it was January 2024. And when he got there, he talked about, how horrible the healthcare conditions were. And he talks about how preventable things you can prevent easily from happening, deaths that you can prevent easily by antibiotics or things like that. They didn't have it. They didn't have anesthesia. They didn't have all normal stuff you have in the hospital. And so you had to operate in a way you never trained to even operate in that way, I guess. And he talks about being in other war zones and how this was the worst he's ever seen by far. The hospital he worked in they had to evacuate at some point, ended up being bombed. He talks about kids coming, they just being killed, a few minutes earlier, and how he hit, they arrived, they did an arrival, and the parents begging with him, saying, they just the bombing just happened 5 minutes ago. You still can do something. And he's trying to explain to them that, no, I can't, and how hard those moments are. And so he paints a picture that I think many of us, even when we read the news and see some stuff online, we don't get. Um, and it's very heartbreaking. The first time I met him, I just cried the whole time. It's the stories he tell are just heartbreaking. He tells the story of Hind Rajab. He was there when that happened, and just tells the story, and it's heartbreaking hearing it from him with much more details than I knew before. But also he tells us stories of dignity. He tells stories of how people refuse to give up on their humanity. And one of the things that he said stayed with him and really stayed with me is how no food in a time that people were starving, and they would come and share whatever little they have. And he would tell them, no, no. When he went, the Israeli military allowed them to take power bars for what they need to survive on. And so he would try to say no, and the families would not let him. And then they would apologize for not having enough and say, but when the war is over, you can come and we will cook for you, and my mom will make you this dish and that dish. And to me, that the part that hit me even the most, because that's the part people forget about places that are in humongous suffering like Gaza. We see people as victims, and we forget who they are as a humans. We forget the stories, the person, the human being that has hopes and dreams, and the things that makes us empathize with them is not that they are victims, it's who they are as human beings. And I would say that's the thing I don't see much of, usually not on social media, and definitely not on mainstream news. You don't get that element of the people who live in Gaza. And so I was very grateful for him sharing that, and for me to be able to write it in the Futures piece.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And you go into much more detail in the book itself, and it's important to go back and to take all the pieces in, because so much of the work is us like making up a story and then looking the other way and not seeing the full thing, like you were saying, like seeing the full humanity of people. And Maoz, like you wrote specifically too about the cost of violence. Uh, like that goes even beyond the victims and the people who get killed, but also the IDF soldiers themselves. And I'm wondering if you'd be willing to share more there.
I'm not sure exactly. Also, all or most Israeli Jews, when they are 18, we've been drafted to serve for 3 years in the IDF, the Israeli military force. And for us, from the moment we are born, we are entering into this orbit that we know that in this orbit, they will reach a moment that is exactly 18 years after we'll be born, that will be drafted into the service. And for us, there is no question why or if and we know exactly when. And we were born and raised to believe that only if Israel will be strong, militarily strong, the Holocaust would not happen again. This is something that is within our DNA. We carry it as in our essence as being Jews that born and raised in Israel. So and we were born and raised under the naive and false belief that wall can defend us, that bombs can bring quiet, and war will bring security. And so the entire Jewish Israeli society is trapped within this naive and false narrative. And October 7th was exactly the proof for it being false, because even in that year, the security budget of Israel was the highest ever since the establishment of Israel. and the wall that was literally shadowing. My parents lived only quarter a mile from the wall that was going started. The barrier started with 100 meters, 100 feet down underground, and it didn't save my parents. It didn't save 1,200 Israeli civilians. And October 7th was the worst day in Jewish history since the Holocaust. So for the Jewish Israeli society, the Holocaust happened again in October 7th. And that was what leads, in my opinion, a war of revenge over Gaza. We didn't revenge only October 7th. We revenge also the Holocaust. And we revenge the Spanish Inquisition. And we revenge from being slave in Egypt. This is the trauma that we are carrying within us. And we, unfortunately, we believe, or definitely the government believe, that only by waging war, by bloodshed and by vengeance, we'll be able to heal ourselves from this trauma. But of course, we are not healing ourselves. We are just making ourselves weaker and weaker. And I do believe that Israel today is as weak as ever, and the Israeli society is in a tremendous crisis, regardless what Israel is doing in the West Bank, for what Israel was and still doing, and all the killing in Gaza and in Lebanon and Iran. Israel is facing an internal crisis, and unfortunately, the reflection of this crisis is what we are doing to the others. And by dehumanizing Palestinians, by dehumanizing Muslims, by dehumanizing Arabs, we created a reality that is devastating. It's devastating. And this is exactly the work Aziz and I and many others in the Palestinian peace movement are doing now. And much focused in the past and what happened to us, about our own victimhood, about our own pain, and we see only our victimhood, only our pain, only our trauma, only our fear. And the and humanity proven so many times in the past that we can overcome those feelings and those traumas and those pain when we are working together. When we are refusing to see ourselves as Palestinian Israelis, as Muslims and Jews, or Christian, or when we start seeing ourselves as humanity, as human, and working with others to bring others to see the reality the same way we see it, that's the only way to heal ourselves. To heal ourselves from the inside, as a human being, by to heal our people and to heal humanity. And so in Israel, militarism is a doctrine. We are being doctrined for military force now for 4 generations in a row. And in order to break this doctrine, we must work together. Not just Israelis and Palestinians on the ground, but Jewish in diaspora, Palestinian in diaspora, international community, to work together, because we are trapped. So I'm not here to blame this side of the other. We can blame and we can play the blame game, and who's done more suffering and who suffered the most. But this will only drag us to a deeper places. And there will be time to do so, but this time will be through the reconciliation process with Israelis and Palestinians. We'll have to start working on, and then we'll be able to acknowledge also the pain we have created or brought into the other and to ourselves. So it was a long answer. I'm not sure if I got it exactly completely, but again, we shared many of those thoughts, feeling, and prove them on the ground in the future is peace.
No, you definitely do, and you completely answered. Like the specific place that I was thinking about, which you connected to, was the um like when we dehumanize, we actually lose some of our humanity in the process, and there's a pain and a darkness that sets in for us, and like the suicide rate among IDF soldiers has also been really high.
Yeah.
And so like there's other ways that we feed, like we're not just hurting others, we're hurting ourselves in this cycle, and it feeds itself over and over. And like being peacemakers in a society like what like all the pieces that you've both been describing, I imagine it takes its toll on you, and you talk about the importance of a discipline, Aziz, and like what it means to continue. And but you also talk about being a Palestinian peacemaker. You're normalizing. And so like how can you go into that a little bit more and about how you are at peace with making sure that you're not part of the normalizing?
Yeah, being a peacemaker is hard because you are in both communities, in multiple communities at the same time. So on October 7th, I knew people who were killed who were Israeli, and soon after and before, I knew also Palestinians who were being killed that I knew who they are, knew their families. And so you kind of feeling the pain of everybody, which basically doubles the amount of pain you feel and the trauma you are encountering. You're empathizing, you're feeling it, you're encountering it on daily basis, and you have no break from it. Now, being a Palestinian peacemaker is very challenging because again, you are under the occupation on one hand, and so you're getting all the oppression that you get from being under occupation. There's all the inequalities that you encounter, and at the same time, a lot of Palestinians will look at you and say, "Why are you working with Israelis? Are you betraying your people? Are you betraying your cause? Are you betraying your brother?" And this is where it goes into normalization. Talking to Israelis or working with Israelis is normalizing the occupation. That's what it means, normalization. And my response to that, it's anything but normalizing it. We, at no point in our work, we say the status quo is good. At no point we accept the status quo, or believe that this is a reality that should continue, or excuse the injustices and the oppression. And in the future piece, we detail quite a lot of those by telling stories of people who experienced it. We talk about Hebron, we talk about Jericho and water rights, we talk about ABCs and how the West Bank is split. We talk about Gaza, like you mentioned earlier, with Dr. Tahir Ahmad and with Abdul. But what we do is we say together we will be much more successful and much stronger in challenging the status quo. We will be able, I don't believe we will be able to end the occupation by working alone. I think the only way, the best way, the fastest way to end the occupation is by Israelis, Palestinians, and internationals coming together and realizing that the future depends on us working together for peace and equality and justice. So I can't imagine what I do as normalization because it's anything but normalizing the reality.
Yeah. Thank you for the way that you've encapsulated like the pieces, because so much of these uh like NewGround specifically work focuses on Muslims, Jews, Christians, other allies to be able to have hard conversations. But um I think one of the shifts that we've seen too is that with what's happened with October 7 is more p groups that are doing the reconciliation work are naming more hard things openly, as opposed to just saying, let's get along and working together, I think, across divides, even with each other. And that's actually a really important piece in our evolution, but making sure that
Yeah.
we're, not supporting or not making things worse, that we're reflecting on these things.
I'm going to add something to this. I think the reason we get called normalizers sometimes, and I completely understand when people do it, because there are interfaith organizations that refuse to talk about Israel and Palestine, for example. There are even Palestinians who are coming across as they get on TV and they in conferences and stuff, and they don't challenge the occupation at all, and they're all about we should just love each other and that's it. And I think there's something fake about that. If you're not asking hard questions and if you're not dealing with the reality, you're not creating a change. And some people tell me, oh, but these people will get Israeli Jews who never listen to Palestinians or American Jews who never listen to Palestinians to listen to them. And I thought about that a lot and I don't buy it because what they really do is create a comfort of I already have an Arab friend and I don't need to talk about anything else. I don't need to change anything. And when people do that, I would agree, it is normalization. It is accepting reality. Unless you openly speaking about what future we want to have that is different than the one we have today and what actions we're doing to get there, then we are accepting the status quo. And that is not good. It's not good, I think, for Israelis, and it's not good for Palestinians. It's not good for American Muslims, and it's not good for American Jews. We all pay for that status quo, and we should all work together to changing it.
Mm, well said. One of the questions that we're getting from the audience members is how do you navigate using the term or language that feels right to you, but maybe not right for others? And when do you find the need to use the same terms, even if it doesn't feel right? And I think you have both done a really intentional effort around making sure that you're still using terms. And also specific terms. Can you help us learn from you and like
Yeah, I'll
how you got
start
to
with
that
that, and
decision?
then Oz can add. What we did in the futures piece is we said we will both feel free to use terminologies we feel comfortable with and not use terminologies maybe we don't feel comfortable with. In most cases, it might be also sometimes strategic decision of people willing to hear certain terminologies or not. But also, Israelis and Palestinians name everything differently, and you can take it from the wall that's built that separate the West Bank from Israel, or the West Bank from the West Bank. Um, and most Israelis would call it the fence. They're not fully wrong because big part of that wall is a fence. Palestinians call it apartheid wall. Also not really wrong because it is a wall and it is a wall of separation, which is the translation of apartheid is separation. So we both feel comfortable using different words because it helps us also reach and understand what the communities who might not otherwise maybe read the book, but we also don't silence the other person. And I think that's very important. And we don't silence people that we speak with. So we interviewed people who might use terminologies that one of us doesn't, and we let people use whatever words they feel tell their stories. And I think that's a way to do it, is you don't go around and say, unless you use exactly the same word I use, then I'm not gonna talk to you. You talk to people, they say what they want to say, you say what you want to say, and they start working together. And um, how do you build that next chapter together? And eventually people get there. I'll use a small example. Maoz in the beginning of our work refused to use the word justice. I could have said, oh, if you don't use the word justice, I'm not going to talk to you again. No, he had a reason why. And I understood that reason. But come a few months later, a year later, he and his own came to understand why the word justice is important, not only for Palestinians, but also for Israelis and for Jews specifically. So it's a journey. You can't tell people you either 100% agree with me before we talk or work together, or that's it. It's impossible to do that.
Yeah, again, I don't have much to add, but again, many times we're investing a lot of time and efforts and energy on terminology. So we can discuss now forever if what happened in Gaza, if it's a genocide, a war of revenge, just a war, a destruction, ethnical cleansing, justified war, like many Israelis will say, justified war. So we can spend a lot of time arguing, and many times we will win the argument. We will win the debate. While we are winning as we win the argument, people are losing their life. So whatever we call it, let's stop it. And then we'll be able to invest or waste our entire life to name it. So what is important are most important are the action and where we can form a shared action. When we can act together, it's 1 + 1 equal much more than 2. And if we believe in the outcome, if we believe this should end, so let's end it. It's been going on for too long. It's been going on for a century. So again, for some will say, Maoz, you're saying the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, but it's not a conflict, it's something else. I'm not arguing with you. Okay, that's your wording, that's my wording. Now let's end it, whatever it is. It's an oppression, it's occupation, it's whatever. Let's end it. Let's bring equality. Let's base our future based on equality and dignity. And let's talk about the values. And later on, we can decide exactly where the borderline will go through and many other things.
Well said. Because it does feel like there's a the division or the divisiveness, like the whatever the pieces are, like it seems like there's almost like a playbook that's happening and the divide and conquer all the way around. But like what strikes me with your book is like you're very pragmatic and like, okay, there's a way, there's another way to do this. And to do it with integrity and to do it to be true to yourself and to your family and your loved ones and to work through. Um, uh, so one last question we have from the audience, and then I'll close with a question uh, to kind of close this out. But there's a question here, like what has been the response of people receiving the book? Have you received specifically any angry or hateful reactions, and how have you been responding to them?
So again, I will be very honest. I check the reviews on Goodreads and Amazon on a daily basis, and they've been amazing.
Mm.
And we are looking also. We encourage you to also to review the book there, and it's go the same with the comments on the Daily Show, that people are saying where have they been before? Why they don't get more platforms, more places to share their vision, stories, and path? So this is again mostly of what we get. Even it's much better than we expected. And Aziza just leaving after the Faith Leader meeting with Jumana, we went and meet Adnan and another friend in Los Angeles, and it was a heartwarming reaction that we received, and really heartwarming reaction from across the board. So it was really gave us a lot of energy to continue. And I must say, we are working very hard. It's not easy. We are investing so much time, so much energy. But what keep us moving and going is exactly the reaction we are getting and the support and we see how great the impact is that we are doing. And just the other day, I was on another call, and someone say that um, someone went to meet a Jewish elderly community in Miami. And he asked them at the beginning, how many of you watch The Daily Show? And everyone watched The Daily Show. And he said, it was Avi from Olmet. He said, it's the first time they were willing to speak about peace.
Mm.
First time that they were willing to start speaking, imagining, and acting to achieve a lasting peace. So people can be transformed, mind can be changed, but it's only if we're working together and we are courageous and brave enough not to silence our words, not to silence our vision, and also like you have a working group and your organization, but dialogue is not the end goal.
Mm.
Dialogue is not where we are aiming. Dialogue is a tool. Dialogue is a tool to achieve a lasting peace, to achieve equality, to achieve peace and justice. So we need to use it more. We need to invest in it, but not forget what is our final destination. And our final destination is just not to have more and more meetings or more and more dialogue. It's great that we do, But we should not forget, I'm reminding myself that also, because again, we are not here to normalize the situation. Not here in the US and definitely not back home in Israel and Palestine. We must fix what is not normal now. And our life is not normal at the moment. And together, we are offering, we can do it. We have the agency to change it.
Yeah.
We do. We need to seize that agency. I would love for you both to lean in a little bit more into what that agency has looked like. You have a beautiful story about the mayor of Verona, and we were showing the images of you with the different popes as we were entering into this room. And I would love for you to help us understand the story behind it and your clarion call to all of us and like how we can own our agency to propel this kind of your work forward and to propel the work of this courage and for because there's so many, you're right, there's so many people doing this work, like it's time that we seize and that we step forward with courage.
Yeah. I want to just say 99% of the comments we get are positive, and maybe one in every whatever isn't. And most of the negative comments we get are people who have not read the book. So it's usually those who are so stuck in their own whatever tribal beliefs are, and anything that challenges that is wrong. And so they'll go and write a review, and you can tell, or a comment, or send us a message. Like somebody sent me a message, a Palestinian who sent me a message and said, "Oh, you normalize occupation. Like you definitely haven't read the book, and I can tell from the things he said he hasn't." And an Israeli guy who sent me a message and said, "If you're willing to have a dialogue with me because you look like you never challenge anything Palestinians do," I'm like, chapter one in the book is all about me challenging what Hamas has done, and chapter three and four, me challenging the Palestinian Authority. You obviously haven't read the book. And so I'm happy to have a dialogue with anybody, but if you're not going to listen to what I'm saying, then it's not really a dialogue. It's a lecture. And that's not the way to do dialogue. But on Verona, I think it's an example of what every one of us can do to generate change, and the responsibility every one of us has. Because the mayor of Verona is not Jewish, is not Muslim, is not connected to the Middle East in any way. Definitely the Bishop of Verona isn't Muslim or Jewish. And yet the two of them invited us to meet with Pope Leo after we met them when we had the meeting with Pope Francis, invited us to meet with Pope Leo with them, and had us as basically the honorary guests. That Pope Leo's speech was based on the two of us in that meeting. They had us sit in the front, they had us be honored by the Pope, and his speech was about the two of us and our work, which is, we didn't know that until we got there. But that was because of the mayor and the bishop. And then a year later, they called us and asked us to go to Verona to carry the Olympic torch together. An Israeli and a Palestinian carrying the Olympic torch for the
Maybe we can
first
show
time
the
ever.
photos again for those who joined
Yeah.
late.
So carrying the torch together is a symbol, and it was an important symbol in these days, especially because in times when people only see examples of death, killing, hate, revenge, you need to show them something else they can believe in so they can rally around. So we keep saying, why are people angry? Why are people frustrated? Why are they not able to believe in something different? Well, I don't blame them. If you're not offering something different, if there are no symbols they can believe in, then how do we expect them to believe in something different? And that's why going to Verona was important. But it happened because of somebody who's not even connected to our cause, who said, I'm gonna help you get a platform. I'm gonna amplify your voices. That's what we need from everyone here. Amplify those voices. You all have probably social media account. Get on it and do a post about this. It's the least any of us can do. It takes 30 seconds. Legitimize us. Who do you know that might be able to get us into the door to do something big, to do something like what we did in Verona? Every one of us has a connection. Might be to a professor, might be to a university, might be to a rabbi and imam, it might be to a celebrity, it might be to a TV show, it might be. That's how we able to get to these places, is it through the help of other people. We need, yeah, that's our social media. We need people to be engaged in the work we are doing. When we started our dual narrative project in Nazareth, where we're doing an online project, half of that project is done by volunteers, by people who have media background and video filming background and editing background, translation background, and they all come and said, "How can I help?" And so when we weren't able to get enough money, which is another thing people always, Aziza, you run a nonprofit, so you understand this. Uh, People have to be supportive, especially in a time. And the US government cut all aid to any peace work in Israel and Palestine. Zero right now goes to that, which means any work is done, whether it's Interact or organization. I'm sure yours, Combatants for Peace, Healing Across the Divide, Parent Circle, none of those are getting any government money anymore. And so you are left with whatever people are able to support with, big foundations, individuals, all of that. So we need to all work together and realize we all have a role in making that change possible.
Beautifully said. Beautifully said. And each of us like really leaning in really important ways. Wishing you blessings on your path forward, and may your voices
Oh,
continue to be built. Oh, sounds like you have more to say.
And I would also like before you are moving to the working group to encourage you to ask the difficult question.
Mm,
It's if we are not asking them, we are not able to move forward. To invest in dialogue, but remember that the dialogue is only a tool to the vision that we must create and build together, and to invest most of our resources in the future, not in agreeing or discussing or disagreeing regarding the past and the history. As we'll move into the future and we'll create a just future, we'll have enough time to invest in acknowledging, and then we can debate and argue regarding the past and the present. So anchor into the future and let this anchor drag you to the beautiful future and that we all deserve to live within.
yeah. And we'll end with this. This is A Boarding Pass to Peace. And it has a poem that we like to usually end with, which is by Samih al-Qasim, a Palestinian Druze poet, that says, "Travel tickets. The day I'm killed, my killer rifling through my pockets will find travel tickets. One to peace, one to the fields and the rain, and one to the conscience of humankind. I beg you, my dear killer, don't ignore them. Don't waste such a thing, but take and use the tickets. Please, I beg you to go traveling." And that's what we are here for, is to beg you to come traveling with us on this journey.
beautiful. Thank you for those beautiful words and sharing and bringing so much richness from your peoples, your traditions, your like what makes us beautiful and real and human. And before we close out, I just want to invite everyone. We actually saw Aziz and Maoz at the screening of The Other that we just screened on Monday. And you can of course please go out and get their book. Or I'm like 81 in line on Libby, so I'm telling you, people, it's like going like fire, and it's important to listen and to read this book. So I encourage you to go out and get your copy. And our next we have two big events coming up. We're going to have the screening of Coexistence My Ass.
It's
That
a
one will be
beautiful
in
movie,
person.
and it's a beautiful movie. I highly recommend you to watch it.
Which one?
Coexisted my ass. It's
Ah,
no
yeah.
beautiful movie.
Beautiful. And we're going to be hearing from Ahwat Amim, and specifically an update from the West Bank, taking a look at what the reality is and the day to day in even just this last year. And so we encourage you we're going to drop some links in the chat. And our authors are about to sign off, and we encourage you all to join us in this learning series, but then also to join us in some breakout rooms. So for those who are willing to stay, it's really important that we continue to process and that we continue to be with one another. So join us in the breakout rooms. But Aziz and Maoz, we are so grateful for you, and wishing you much success on your path forward.
Thank you, Aziza.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
everyone. Bye bye.
Be well.